All right. Hello. Welcome to the stream. Um, so last week we played the demo for a game called I Was a Teenage Exocolonist, and apparently that was only available during the Ludo Naricon that Steam was putting on. And so we're not able to finish the demo for that, and I'm very sad about that because it was a very cool game. So we'll just have to play it some more once it comes out, hopefully later this year. But today we are playing a game called Over the Alps, which is it's kind of like a choose your own adventure. It's mostly text based, so I'll be doing a lot of reading. But we're playing a cool spy adventure. And I think that will be a lot of fun. Um, so yeah, welcome to the stream, and we will get started shortly. Alright, I just had to go grab some water. So oh, my voice got all shaky there. I'm gonna play us out of this music. There we go, and bring up the game music. I guess the music for the game stopped. But let me know if, there we go. Let me know if the audio is a bit too loud or whatever. Okay, let me switch us on over to, I have a little bit of a different setup today. I have my phone as the chat, so I'll be able to see you in front of me while I'm playing instead of having to check my other monitor. So hopefully I'll be able to interact a little bit faster. Um, and so yeah, we will bring us on over here. Oh, look at that, it's the game. We're playing Over the Alps. Cool spy game. I'm so excited. I have played a little bit of it before, so I have one of the other missions unlocked. Oh, that is very loud. I'm gonna turn that down a little bit. So we're gonna play the first one, called The Case of Chateau Vercoli. Oh, yeah, before we start, how do I decide what games to play? Um, Normally I would like to continue story games that I have like started in the past. So like I've played some of the Night in the Woods. And I thought about streaming that today, but that's kind of gone into a dark part of the story, and I don't feel like exploring that right now. But I have a list of games, and I have a very large Steam library. I have access to a very large Steam library. And so I mostly just choose whatever I feel like playing. Um, uh, but I was gonna do the rest of the Exocolonist demo today, but it's not available anymore. So I'm sorry for the lack of continuity there. But yeah, uh, I also look up. I know! I know it's not available anymore. Um, I usually look up how long games take to see if I can play it all in one stream. The demo is not available anymore because it was part of an exhibition that Steam was doing. And I guess they took it down when the exhibition was done, and that ended on the 9th, I believe. So I should have streamed like the next day to finish it, and I didn't know that that was gonna happen. But yeah, I think let's get into it. Let's get into Cool Spy Game. See, I haven't played this in almost a year. We'll start a new save file. Chiasso. I hope I'm saying that right. Mussolini fumes over daring prison escape. 4 prisoners escaped from a detention facility outside of Milan last night. In an incident the Italian Prime Minister has branded the work of foreign agents. In a statement this morning, Mr. Mussolini vowed that no efforts would be spared to retrieve the prisoners, whom he described as dangerous political insurgents. Aubrey. Oh yeah, so in this game we'll be able to choose like different options, and those options are represented by stamps. I've been enjoying the sights and smells of Milan, my friend. Quite a city, no matter what Mussolini's doing to the place. And so, see, we select different stamps. Can I, like, oh, okay, I can use the arrow keys to, like, scroll through them. Mussolini will wreck it in the end. Fascism will never overcome beauty. It will die trying. I won't tell you precisely what I got up to. Ooh, should we be all aloof? Let's be aloof. Control has enough dirt on me already, I think, but it shouldn't have any of those messy consequences our masters dislike so much. Got out. I don't think Milan will remember my face. And would you believe it? I even met a girl. Ooh! Black hair, blue eyes, a stunner. She said, Control needs you in Riva San Vital. Don't hang about. You tell Control from me. I want to live long enough to own a vineyard with a girl like that. Oh, there's my mouse. Act 1. The Italian Gambit. Giasso. We're on a train! And so in like moments like these, we just click on like the location that we want to go to. 49 stops, Aubrey, and they call this an express. Switzerland is full of these electric trains, the young woman in my compartment remarked, as we lurched to a halt once again. Not enough fuel here to run proper trains. No good coal mines, I think. She smiled at me, a prim, unaccustomed smile, like an ill-fitting shoe. That will soon change, she added. It will? Just like that? Oh. I rather like the mountains as they are, Fräulein? Fräulein? Is that German? Swiss? I don't know. I ignored the remark and continued to gaze out the window. Let's go. I rather like the mountains as they are. Then you are in luck. We will be amongst them for many more hours. She stuck out a gloved hand. Fräulein Wolf. Not Swiss. German. Mr. Smith. Fräulein. Ah, thank you. Fräulein Wolf. Rhyme it with sign. Got it. Let's be gentlemanly. The greatest of pleasures. Not the greatest, I am sure. A wider smile this time. The train lurched back into motion. For a moment we were jostled together. 5 empty seats, and she had picked the one beside mine. Where are you headed? I hear the air appears exhilarating. Fräulein, please, do try to keep your balance. Gentlemanly. Fräulein Wolf is interested in you. I go where my work takes me, she answered. I am very, how you say, like a dog. Dogged. Appropriate for a wolf. And what is it that you do? You are now a romantic. Oh, okay. I meet people, I arrange things, she replied casually, and then turned to the window with a sigh. I do so love to travel. She turned to examine her reflection in the window glass and adjusted the fall of her hair. A pity. The way those soft long waves hit her brow worked fine for me. Oh goodness. We continued to talk. But are you from Germany? They say a war is coming. I fell silent. Had weightier matters to consider. But you are from Germany? They say a war is coming. She nodded. I'm quite sure of it. But even if our countries are at war, it does not mean that we must be, does it? Not on such a beautiful day in a beautiful place as this. I hope not, at least. Perhaps I would be in luck, and Fraulein Wolf would prove to be my contact? I don't think so. Riva San Vital. Ooh. Hotel. Postcard. Aubrey, I saw the Fraulein again. Before I get to that, let me tell you about my contact. You're waiting for someone, I suppose, Fraulein. We're not saying that. Goodness. You're waiting for someone, I suppose, Fraulein? I began. I was hoping you would join me, certainly, Herr Smith. She patted the stool next to hers, and then pointed across the room. I've been watching this funny Italian man. Look at him. I looked and identified my contact immediately. Perhaps you know that man? I avoided approaching him as long as I could. Player of the game should know when they are being played. Ooh, okay. I think you know something, Fraulein. More than you're letting on. She raised one beautifully sculpted eyebrow and held it in position. In these uncertain times, Mr. Smith, can one ever be truly sure of anything? She replied, and with that she left the bar. It was like a signal. A moment later my contact approached. You are the agent, yes? We will go tonight, from the bay, after dark. Ooh, map time! Okay, so we're here. So we have to choose a route. Rowing was a ridiculous idea. Informed the Italian we would steal a car instead. The idiot had arranged to cross the lake by rowboat. Oh gosh. So this is one of our choices. Do we steal a car or do we go by boat? I like the... Okay, I can't scroll up to see more of the map. I'm leaning towards rowboat just because that sounds... I don't know. I don't know, but stealing a car is more spy-ish. Okay. Yeah, that's more of a spy move, I guess. Alright, we're stealing a car. Aubrey, do you remember back in Piccadilly when we had that little contest to see who collect the most vehicles in the space of an afternoon? I forget who won. It was probably a tie. Anyway, it turns out that in a pinch you only need to steal one, though doing it with an anxious Italian man in tow is a pretty thing. I've done this hundreds of times. Nothing to worry about. We're gentlemanly. Hundreds? The man seemed to have some sort of conscientious objection to borrowing cars. Honestly, Aubrey, where does control find these people? I shot him a look. The man bit his lip and fell silent. A moment more, and I had tricked the engine. We roared away into the night. But I think someone saw us leave. Oh, that was a bit abrupt. Malid Crossing. Hitler reaffirms... Wow, that was really hard for me to read. Promise not to invade Switzerland. In a meeting between Swiss and German officials last night in Berlin, the German Chancellor reaffirmed his country's commitment to respecting Switzerland's neutrality in the event of war. This should calm fears in the chocolate-loving nation, which is rumored to have significantly bolstered its Alpine military defense system in recent months. Boat. Can we go down? We can't go down to the boat. We can go only to the hotel. All of which puts us here, Aubrey, old chum. The imaginatively named Hotel Alpen. The Italian and I sat together at the breakfast table like a perfect couple of chumps. He had his napkin tucked into his collar. Are you ready to tell me where we're going yet? Yeah, I guess so. I guess I forgot to mention that. I don't even know your name. I don't even know your name. Oh, let me do something real quick. There we go. Yes, pre-World War II, it looks like. I don't even know your name. The Italian trusts you. The oaf reaches across the table and took my hand in his. Please, he said. It is my daughter. I'm not even going to try an Italian accent. She's been taken. We must rescue her. I spluttered. Spluttered. It sounded more like a fairy tale than a mission. I mean, if he's the contact, then there must be a reason. Oh. Well then, I suppose we'd better go and get her. I'm not gonna try to pronounce that. Thank heavens, I think that means, because cielo is like sky. The Italian enthused, releasing my hand to pat his chest. I am Primo Vercoli, at your service. Smith, not your real name, of course, frankly. No, not your real name, of course. The man looked confused. See, I am Vercoli. It is written on my passport. You want I show you? I shook my head. We go to the train station in Lugano, he continued. Then to Bellinzona. 2-3 hours. Then we rescue my daughter. They have her in the castle there. He leaned back, evidently pleased with his plan. And now, how is your smoked fish? May I try? Now boat time? Oh, wait, we go to the map. Whoa, okay. Alright, what are our options? We ditched the stolen car and walked. We continued on in the stolen car. I mean, we're not gonna walk. That'll take us forever, right? We're gonna take the car. Okay, hold on. Alright. We're gonna continue on in the car because walking seems silly. And we made it! Woo! Oh, you have to go? Oh, my stream deck thing is gone. Oh, hold on. Technical difficulties. Oh no. Oh no, I knew this would happen. No, I have internet. Okay. Well, I'm not sure if you can hear me. Or if it's like all caught up. There we go. I think it's coming back. I can see the chat. Unfortunately, you have to go, but I'll see you next time. I will see you next time. Yes, I will probably play the next mission next stream. So I'm going to try to finish this mission today and then play the next mission next time I stream. So I'll try to finish this game in the next few streams. Okay. Thank you for coming. Okay. The stream is back. I had technical issues, I suppose. Let me just fix some stuff real quick. Okay, hold on. My chat is not updating on my phone. Okay, whatever. I'll just have to keep checking over there. Getting to Lugano was a peach. Getting the train to Bellinzona was quite the opposite. We had ditched the stolen Bugatti a short walk from the station. Then we strolled toward the station. There's a couple of tourists taking in the mountain air. My idea was to slip over a fence. I planned to hide in plain sight, because we are a gentleman. I, I would board the train with the swagger of a millionaire. Would the ladies care to choose which mountain I might buy? Champagne for everyone aboard the express. Choo choo. Oh, just one chew. Just one chew. The train was ready. We were about to come aboard when... There you are, you hund! A woman's voice, loud, shrill, and familiar. Hoping to deflect attention, I gasped and pointed out a short man. I think this is funny. We're doing this. It worked for a moment, but then I was slapped across the face. It was the Fraulein, but she wasn't smiling now. Hello, Fraulein, and goodbye. I am now dangerous. Let's go. Alrighty. Where are you going? You won't get away with it that easily, you scoundrel. She slapped me with the other hand across the other cheek. It rather seemed she was playing a scene, but for whom? She turned to address the audience that was beginning to form around us on the concourse. This is the man who stole Herr Dr. Schweiger's car from Hotel Malide. Malide. Whose car? Perhaps Primo would vouch for me. To the crowd. Ooh, ooh. Alright. It's perfectly alright. This is my wife. Might as well have given them opera glasses. This was better than a matinee at the cinema. The audience was hooked. Yes, that's him, the man who was there in Malide. It was the second voice, Austrian. This must be the doctor then. And that's my car in front of the station. The train behind me was gathering steam. It would be departing soon. I heard the clatter of a police car's bell approaching. I called to Vercoli to get away. I turned and ran for the train. Nah, I don't like any of these options. I turned in. I've been caught by the police! Oh no! Wishful thinking, but it was worth a try. As the police dragged me away, I caught a final glimpse of Herr Schweiger. He was helping the Fraulein up into his car, and no doubt destined for a better time than I. This was not my intention. This is bad. This is not good. Map. Hey, we're getting closer to where we gotta be, though. Taken by the police. Polizei. Rivera. Perhaps the Swiss police are the most insane, or perhaps it's control. I had thought the police would take me to Bellinzona, throw me in the same cell as Vercoli's daughter, and save me a lot of bother. I worked on the officer in the back of the van with me. I worked on the handcuffs, but no, I was biding my time. I worked on the officer in the back of the van with me. He was impenetrable. He might as well have been made of cheese. Yeah, cheese is known for being impenetrable. Yep, that's for sure. But when the van doors opened, I saw we were not in the lion's den, but rather in some microscopic, unheard of little town. Knock, knock. I was dragged behind a beer house. The smell, sausages and stale beer. From the shadows at the back, a cigarette flared. Going to remove these handcuffs. May I have one of those as well? This isn't a police station. Where am I? I have a question for you, English. A man's voice. Deep, resonant. French, perhaps. What exactly have you been playing at? I don't answer questions from people I can't see. The police here call spies bed bugs. Did you know that? Little bugs living in their bed. The man paused to draw on his cigarette. Ironic, no? He smiled as he saw the realization dawning on my face. He was one of us. I'd like to understand what you were thinking back in Lugano, making such a spectacle of yourself. It was the German woman. I was heading to Bellinzona with my contact. I was handling it. We were not handling it. I was heading to let's go. It was the German woman. Was it? Not a question. Well, friend, you are now, as one says, on the radar. The cigarette tapped on an ashtray with some petulance. From here on, for God's sake, stop making it so easy for my men to find you. Don't go off mission. Is that clear? Very. No guns, please. I hate dodging bullets. Off mission? No, let's. Very. Très bien. A flick of the cigarette, a little scatter of ash, a moment for me to consider. For Coley, I began. He was my contact, wasn't he? I'll leave you to your cigarette. Yeah, let's ask about Ricoli. The police now have your description! Woo! Never heard of Ricoli before. Now get moving. The cigarette moved to indicate a small door at the rear. We'll be in touch once Control has worked out what good you can do out here. There was no time for more questions. I was hustled away through an empty kitchen, then out the back of the beer house. To the map. To the map we go. Okay. I walked away from the town. So please, we should probably not steal things that can be so easily like noticed. we walked. We walked. Which means we're probably gonna get stopped a couple times on the way. Yeah. I imagine the police might start looking for me in Bellinzona, so I hiked up the nearest mountain and decided to lie low on high. Two things were now clear. I mulled them over as I walked. One, Varcoli had not been my contact. As far as Control was concerned, I had reached Riva, then gone completely rogue in the company of an unknown Italian, eating kippers and stealing cars. Two, wherever my actual contact had got to, he wasn't coming back. I had only myself to blame. All the signs had been there, back in Riva San Vital. He'd been too nervous, too awkward, but I'd been too otherwise engaged. Not the first time a girl has gotten under my skin and thrown me off my game, but the first time I've been docked for it. This must be how Bunny felt right before Control gave him the axe. Onwards we go. Montcenari. A little cabin. Knock, knock, knock. Picture me, Aubrey. Log fire, warm brandy. I found an empty cabin up here, marvelously well stocked. You'll think me a lucky devil, but these are the Swiss Alps. The locals are too savvy to be caught short if they're snowed in. And I needed the brandy. I was mixed up in something, and it was rattling around inside my head like loose change. I knew I wouldn't be able to leave it alone. A man could... Oh, no. Let's go with the first one. I knew I wouldn't be able to leave it alone. I love the stamp animation. I had a feeling there was something in this wretched business that would be worth following up on. Then, an interruption. Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock on the door. Suspicious. Her eyes, Aubrey. I stayed silent. Maybe she'd go away. Sometimes I wish I carried a gun. I opened the door. There's no point in hiding. I stayed silent. Maybe she'd go away. No such luck. She opened the cabin door uninvited and peeked in around the frame. The night was cold, but she wasn't wearing a coat. Well, aren't you going to ask me in? Would that be wise? Would it matter? No. Would it matter? Would that be wise? Fräulein Wolf adores you. I'm not armed, if that's what you mean. The Fräulein lifted her arms above her head and turned in a slow circle under the light of porch lantern. Look, she said. I looked. Satisfied? Without waiting for an answer, she stepped inside. If this went on any longer, she'd be helping herself to the brandy I found. I had to come. I believe I owe you an apology, Mr. Smith. Only one. I was listening. Does one apologize to one's enemies, Fräulein? I was listening. I got you into the most awful lot of trouble, didn't I? Not as much trouble. I don't like that one. My contact. You are now quite dashing. I don't know how that leads to me being dashing. Ah yes, the little man. There was a splash, of course, but after that he went down quietly. I shot him through my hat, as I recall. She sighed. I rather like that hat. A very stylish little beret. Oh no! She killed Vercoli! Oh no! Get out of my cabin. If this was your cabin, you'd have offered me some of that brandy by now. She took a step closer to me. Her smell was one of French perfume and motor oil. You might not like it, but we do want the same thing. She was serious now. You want the girl freed, and so do I. So that much was clear. Vercoli's daughter was somehow crucial. Yes. Yes. You expect me to form an alliance with you? Of course. But you didn't think I came here for something else, did you? She giggled like a schoolgirl. One of those fearsome ones that carries a hockey stick. I propose a solemn pact, Smith. An alliance to be broken the instant one of us double-crosses the other. It will be fun, don't you agree? Sounds detestable. As fun as toothache. If we play, you'll lose, Fraulein. That's cool. Now that's the spirit. The wolf paced away across the room and curled herself up on the rug before the fire, slipped off her shoes. Now don't be a bore. Pour me a drink and we'll discuss how we're going to spring the Vercoli girl from the castle. Damn her eyes, Aubrey. To the map? Back to the cabin. I passed a lonely and restless night. The Fraulein had only needed to whistle and a car had appeared to scoop her up, leaving me to think through what I'd learned. The Fraulein had set me up. She had directed me to Vercoli, just carefully enough to let me fill in the blanks. It had been an excellent piece of work. Never trust anyone. Never trust anyone, Aubrey. Basic spycraft. And I had let myself be led around by the nose. By the morning I had new resolve. Bellinzona and Vercoli. If I could find the Italian, perhaps I could discover the truth. And if this business turned out to be more trouble than it was worth, there was more going on than I had fully grasped. Yes, let's go with that. If there's one thing I dislike, it's a puzzle with missing pieces. Map time! Looks like we're walking. Hello? Oh, there we go. I had to click on the trail. I made my way downhill on foot. Cadenazzo. A complication. Lovely day for a hike. Regrettably, I wasn't the only one to think so. Some bird watching twit snapped my pictures I wanted by. One that fell into the hands of the police. A test of menace. A test of persuasion. Success! Most apologetically, I told him I had a phobia of cameras. They steal the soul, you know, and asked him to get rid of the film he'd captured me on. Luckily, he acquiesced, considering me a harmless eccentric. Ooh, look at him. Shock. Yeah, I knew. At the foot of the mountain was a pretty little village called Cadenazzo. I took a shortcut into the village where we have a paddock fence. I took the main road in. Rather reckless as it turned out, I tore my jacket on some barbed wire. I was thirsty and footsore and badly in need of a break. Aw, poor guy, look at him. Cadenazzo. The bus to Bellinzona departs whenever you are ready. Okay. Soviet Union ratifies non-aggression pact with Germany. Today, the Supreme Soviet of the Soviet Union ratified the Treaty of Non-Aggression between Germany and the USSR. The agreement, revelations of which shocked the world earlier this month, states that neither government may ally itself to or aid an enemy of the other. The pact marks a surprising turn from Stalin's government, following months of negotiations with Britain and France towards establishing a similar alliance. Der Bund! go. Ooh, we could go to this inn or we could go to this church. Let's go to the church. There we go. The little church of Cadenazzo was dim and empty inside, blissfully cool. I hadn't realized how much I'd been feeling the sun until I was out of it. The space was so quiet that for a moment I didn't see the priest, sitting in the front pew, his head bowed. I took a seat at the back, quietly. Yeah. Let's be aloof. The priest must have had exceptional hearing. He addressed me in Italian. You are welcome, whoever you are. Thank you. Only resting here for a moment. What can you tell me about Bellinzona, Father? I'm only resting here for a moment. You are now brazen. Precisely what churches are for, the priest replied, all without turning his head. That was when I realized he was blind. What's your name, my child? My name is my business. Ooh, if he gets like questioned later. My name is my business. The priest is sure to remember the brusque man who barged into his church and refused to reveal his name. I have nothing against priests, but now was hardly the moment for confession. He didn't seem to mind. My name is Locarno, Father Locarno, like the town not far from here, across the lake. Are you from Locarno? I have just come from Locarno. Nope, we're not gonna... Are you from Locarno then? My middle name means summer in Italian. Does that mean I was born in June? That's funny. I'd say so. Yes. I just want to go to bed. I took a moment just to rest. The priest nodded at the floor. You've been walking a long time, he remarked, and yet you have no belongings. I travel light. The priest chuckled, just dragging your heavy soul around is weight enough, I'm sure. Farewell, father. There didn't seem any more to be said. Farewell. Peace be with you, my child, the priest replied. There was sadness in his voice. Perhaps he saw a little of my future, Aubrey. He seemed the type. I wonder if he smelled my fear as well. The bus to Bellinzona departs whenever you are ready. Let's explore the town some more. After the church, entering the tavern at Cadenazzo felt like stepping into a snowstorm. Everyone knew everyone else. Everyone jostled everyone else. Everyone spilled everyone else's beer and then hurried to replace it, spilling even more in the process. I joined the fray. I couldn't learn anything here without attracting attention. I slid out of the tavern just as deftly as I had come in. Yeah, let's just get a move on. There was a bus to Bellinzona. The hike to Bellinzona was only a couple of hours. Ooh, do we hike? Do we bus? Hmm. I'm not sure. I think bus or hike. Let's do bus. Let's do bus. Don't know why. Just going with my gut. Look at us go. Oh, we've been stopped. A complication. What terrible luck, Aubrey. The bus got stuck in a ditch just outside Bellinzona. These bloody mountain roads. The driver told us we'd be waiting for hours for a replacement. I can't have that. A test of intuition. Failure. I helped them push, but the bus was hopelessly stuck. I sat on a roadside boulder and twiddled my thumbs while we waited for another bus to come up along the road. Valuable time lost, I'm afraid. Dang it. The passengers are sure to remember that odd man on the bus with wild eyes and torn shirt. Oh, that's not good. I slipped aboard the bus to Bellinzona, hat down, collar up. The driver didn't pay me a second glance, but a few passengers noticed the state of my torn shirt and murmured with disapproval. They'd remembered me well enough. A man with a fine set of whiskers tapped me on the arm. You're heading to Bellinzona, I think? That's right. And you? I gave him a thin smile. And you? It is a beautiful city, he continued. Myself, I'm heading for Biasca. It's a little further to the north. There is a little place where I like to stay. I should look it up. What's it called? The Masil Club. He smiled. It is for Swiss only. You understand. I must have said something wrong, because he made a show of coughing and returned to admiring the view. Dang. This is just not going well. We got caught by the police, our bus broke down. The police are searching for you. Continue. Caught by the local priest. He says he was accosted. Could be our Lugano suspect. Unfortunately, the priest is blind, so we didn't get a description. Apparently, the bus to Bellinzona broke down. This may give us the time we need to catch up with our suspect. At a hunch, our suspect was headed to Bellinzona, so I tracked down and interviewed a passenger who had been on the afternoon bus. Jackpot. He called a suspicious-looking man who'd boarded in a state of terrible disarray. That's not good. They are halfway to finding us. That is bad news. Bad news indeed. Okay. We still have some wiggle room, though. Bellinzona. Act 2. Cross and double cross. Ooh, this music. Let me just vibe for a sec. Alright. It's getting kind of loud. I gotta turn it down. Good. Ooh, alright. Okay. I turned it down. Hopefully the audio is fine for you guys. As soon as I arrived, I'm having a hard time reading today. I paid a visit to the largest of Bellinzona's 3 castles. They call it Castel Grande for obvious reasons. We may as well have arranged it as a rendezvous, for Coley was there, skulking obtrusively outside the walls, squinting up at the high, narrow windows, fretting. I watched him while I turned matters over in my head. I went over and clapped him on the back. I went to stand at his shoulder for Coley. We're sneaky. He jumped about 1.5 feet into the air, laughing nervously on his way back down. Signor Smith, you came back. Thank you. He took my hand in both of his and shook it vigorously. You left me in Lugano to get arrested. Have you found out where she is? Yeah, no time for grudges. The big man's eyes all but filled with tears. He turned to look back up at the high windows. I do not know where they are holding her. He was wringing his hands again. I do not know if she's valuable, she's still alive. Stay strong, Signor. If she's valuable, she's still alive. He gulped at that. Yes, yes, of course. Oh heaven. Oh my cara? Beautiful daughter? I don't know Italian. I know Spanish, which is kinda similar. Okay. I needed to get Fercoli away from there, Aubrey, before his little recitativo of his broke out into a full-blown operatic aria. Before Herr Smith, excellent, late perhaps, but here all the same. Our little opera had taken a Wagnerian turn. Enter Fräulein Wolf, eyebrows raised. But what have you done to your jacket, Fräulein? Wolf? Fräulein. Broccoli clasped his hands together. Please, Fräulein, my Louisa is in another castle completely. Come along, boys. She winked at me. Let's put this partnership to the test. Oh, bother. To the other castle! Our unlikely trio wound its way up towards the Sasso Corbaro. It was the smallest and most ruinous of the castles in Bellinzona. The Fräulein strode ahead like a leggy goat. Leggy Goat sounds like the name of a band. Broccoli shuffled along with his little penguin steps, but, in fairness, with the vigor of a man possessed. No one spoke. An unmarked truck was parked outside the front entrance to the ruin. We should overpower the truck driver and take his uniform. We'll go in around the back, through the bushes. I'm going inside. I'll go in and throw my weight around, see what happens. That sounds like a bad idea. Going inside. We'll go in around the back, through the bushes. I have a feeling the brute force ones, the ones with the axe, are not gonna work. Going around the back, through the bushes. Rather you than me, replied Fraulein, screwing up her nose in distaste at the thick brambles. I'll wait for you in the truck, so I can drive us away quickly once you've got the girl. How does that sound? That sounds like she's gonna leave us behind. But I guess that's how it goes. Fine. Afraid you'll break a nail. Are you really an bear? Bear? Agent or just a cab driver? No. Fine. Please, my Louisa is in there, hissed Fricoli. We are wasting time. I fought my way through the thorns, a handsome prince on his way to free Sleeping Beauty. I have a feeling. Let's just go the front way. You know what? Yeah. I was almost through the front gate when a guard in Italian military gear appeared. Get lost. You don't have permission to be here, he barked. I'm a historian, here to see the ruins. Yeah. Yeah. Come back later, understand? No visitors today. Now go. The man was shaking visibly, but raised his weapon. He was young, maybe even untrained, someone's cousin probably. I moved a little closer. I don't want to hurt you. Now, are you really going to shoot a civilian? His eyes still on me, the young soldier called out for his commander. I had mere seconds to act. Basically, I hit him. I raised a hand to take his weapon from him. Basically, I hit him. The lad went down without a sound. Then I was inside. Bare rooms, their doors either missing or fire blackened. Field equipment stacked in corners. From nearby I heard a woman's voice, echoing around stone walls. She was singing. Yup, there wasn't a moment to lose. I looked around first. A trap I approached with caution. But the whole place seemed empty. No one stopped me on my way through the main chamber. And there she was, Vercoli's daughter, alone, sitting on an army crate, gazing out at the mountains through the window as if she were on holiday. They hadn't even bothered to tie the girl up. She glanced at me, but without much interest. A black-haired girl, 20 or so. Pretty, perhaps, but no beauty. Wow. Wow. Rude. My name is Smith. I'm here to rescue you. I waited for her to say something. Your father is outside. I'm here to rescue you. The song trailed off. She frowned at me. You look in a terrible state. Are you ill? Quite alright, so they'll have nothing worse than a headache, I promise. British. Britain is Italy's enemy, she replied uncertainly. I'm here with your father. You need to come now. We can talk outside. For pity's sake, I'm trying to rescue you. A rescue? Well, alright then. She was up and hurrying. Well, alright then. She was up and hurrying out the door. I followed quickly, past the door guard who was still quote-unquote sleeping. And the guards went to town to fetch proper coffee, Louisa explained as we reached the outer yard. I wouldn't drink that dried stuff. The girl had taste, I'd give her that. This was no time for a chat. I grabbed her hand and dragged her. No. Here we go. But there was no time to talk cappuccinos. A group of Italian soldiers were coming up the hill. They'd seen us and started to wave their arms around. While I'd been inside, Wolf had somehow commandeered the army truck outside. Louisa leapt up into the back and into her tearful father's embrace. I slammed the tailgate. You will be safe. Nah, just get him out of there. The Fraulein had already had the engine running. I flung myself into the passenger seat as she threw down the brake, and we sped away down the mountain road at a tumbling pace. We outie. Ooh, let's go. The Fraulein was driving. Oh, we're gonna have two complications. Bang! We must have run over something terribly sharp because the front tire exploded more suddenly than the Hindenburg. The Fraulein ushered us out and ordered me to fix the bloody thing. A test of solicitation. A test of determination. Failure! I told the Fraulein to fix it herself, but she just smirked. What did she expect me to do? I just sat morosely by the roadside. We were stuck for hours before a passing motorist lent us his spare. Dang it! The police are gonna find me! The Fraulein drove like a thing possessed. She positively whooped after each corner, as though she hadn't expected to clear the bend without turning us turtle. It's a good thing for Coley and Louisa couldn't see it. She was driving so fast that I couldn't throw her out. I enjoyed the ride. You know, it's fun. It's like a little roller coaster. Let's do it. It reminded me of those motor rallies we used to have when we were up at Oxford. Do you remember those, Aubrey? Louisa's voice was growing louder from the back, quavering, and not just from the bumps in the road. Papa, isn't that a German lady? Papa, what have you done? You'll have a mutiny on your hands soon enough, I warned the Fraulein. You must be getting tired, Fraulein. Let me take the wheel. So where are we going? Why don't we work out a deal? So where are we going? Yaska! She shouted back over the noise of the engine. I have some friends waiting there. She turned from the road just long enough to shoot me a cheerful grin. It was a challenge that said, "Your move." I gave up on conversation and held on white-knuckled to the dashboard for the rest of the ride. Yaska! Multiple drivers spotted our suspect stuck by the roadside with a burst tire. Apparently he was in the company of a beautiful blonde woman. Could it be the Fraulein? Is she in danger? We must hurry. Okay, so we went down a step and we went back up a step, so we're still halfway to being caught. Yaska. Get out, said the Fraulein. She sounded almost bored all of a sudden. Go in there. I've heard of this place. This is the Masil Club. I'll go where I choose. Ladies first. Made no sign of leaving the driver's seat of the truck. I raised an eyebrow. They don't allow women in there, she said. And don't look so surprised. Your English clubs are just as bad. You wouldn't have found the clubhouse the least bit impressive, Aubrey. Should I take Vercolian with me? Who's inside? Oh, you know, Smith, my people are much like yours, I expect, replied Wolf, with a look of sour disdain. Men who loll about all day in nice clubs waiting for cables and Italian girls. She paused to adjust her hair in the mirror. In you go, then, quickly now. Think they're going to appreciate a British agent turning up at their private club? A British agent delivering them a valuable asset? They'll be delighted. She grinned at one of her more childish grins. Now go, I'm cold and I want you to deliver me a bratwurst. And she blew the horn of the truck. The sound rolled around the valley like a stone in a barrel. Let's just do it. I pushed open the door and went inside, into the lion's den, or so I thought. Miss Seal Club. I need water. Alright, let's do it. The clubhouse was a dimly lit, comfortably quiet space. Gas lamps on the tables, a single electric bulb above the bar, an air thick with wood smoke, cigar smoke, and roasted cheese. What's with this guy and cheese? Oh, I should probably read these out loud. I cleared my throat and announced myself. That sounds like a bad idea. I pulled my collar up and slunk across the room. Even more suspicious, I walked silently into the room. Sure. Two men on one side were playing chess. One was falling asleep while the other chewed his mustache tips in concentration. On the other side, a man was intently tearing a newspaper into strips and burning them in the flame of a table lamp. No one seemed to notice me. A waiter slid over, as though on skates. Signor, he began. I believe I'm expected. The Germans, where are the Germans? The Germans, where are the Germans? What is this place? I believe I'm expected. The waiter looked around the room with a carefully composed, blank expression. Not by any of these gentlemen, I think, he replied. Check again. I perused a 20-franc note. I'm looking for the Germans. The Fraulein has double-crossed you! We have one German gentleman staying at present, but I believe he's already retired to bed. I must have seemed annoyed hearing this, and he is not to be woken, Signor. The gentleman is 93 years old. That was the moment I heard the engine of the truck outside roaring to life. He must think me a perfect plum, Aubrey. I turned and raced for the door. I swore like a pirate for several minutes. I raced for the door. Not fast enough. I was just in time to see the truck disappearing away around a corner and off into the gathering dark. The waiter appeared smoothly at my elbow. Perhaps Signor would like to become a member? Now is not the time, Mr. Waiterman. Lavorgo. I stole a car from outside the club and gave chase. Oh boy, a chase? Let's do it. A complication. I heard a horn blasting behind me. It seems a few fellows from the Monsieur Club had noticed me hot-wiring the car outside, and they pedaled into a boxy black sedan to give chase. A test of audacity, a test of guile. Audacity! Success! Not ideal conditions for a chase, Aubrey. A dark, narrow, unfamiliar stretch of road, but I put my foot down and left them choking on dust. They gave up in short order. No heart to these Monsieur Club riff-raff. After those past couple failures, I was like, oh boy, why are we gonna fail now? Lavorgo. Your house. Knock. It was getting dark. I was driving through the valley without my lights on, hoping for a stroke of luck. Then I had one in Livorgo. There was the truck. The Fraulein had pulled it up in front of a little tavern. Careless, she must have thought I would be stranded without a ride. I clambered into the back of the truck to wait out the night. I stormed inside to confront her. First things first, I cut the fuel line on the truck. Ooh, you sabotaged the Fraulein's truck. No idea how it would play out, but it's always good to know something your opponent doesn't, and I couldn't risk the Fraulein slipping away again. Then I went to confront her. Fraulein Wolf is losing patience with you. Inside the tavern there she was, all alone at a table, nursing a mug of beer. Her face fell at the sight of me. What a bore. She gestured to the empty chair opposite her. I sat down. The others have gone to bed already, which leaves you and me. She grimaced. You and I have a problem, wouldn't you say? The innkeeper appeared with a plate of sausages, and we fell silent. You are in Lavorgo to see the Alphabart? Alpabart? Yes, the man asked. The Fraulein rolled her eyes. What is that? I said nothing. I adore. I said nothing. It's the cow dancing festival, isn't it? The Fraulein offered. The innkeeper's mustaches flopped about indignantly. Everyone comes here for our Alpafart. You will see. It is very special. With that he shuffled away. Now the Fraulein turned to me once more. Where were we? Why did you bring me into this? What do you want out of this? We will have to ask the Italians what they want to do. What do you want out of this? I want the girl, of course. If she truly knows what the Italians believe, well, I'll most likely get a medal when she's safely in Germany. She sipped the dregs of her beer. Now, Smith, tell me, what is it that you want? I want that girl and her father to be safe. Or, depends what you're offering. Ooh, yeah, let's be aloof. Oh, please, said Wolf, and laughed. You know precisely what I mean. She raised a finger and poked me in the chest. What's your price? Everyone has one. Information, of course. Whatever that girl has will be valuable to England. I want this to end without bloodshed. I want you to defect to our side, Fraulein. Oh my. Defect? There's no way she's doing that. Yeah, let's go with information. Then, as I say, Smith, we do have a problem. Why'd you bring me into this? We'll have to ask the Italians what they want to do. Why'd you set the policeman on me in Lugano? Why did you bring me into this? You're my knight in shining armor. I brought you in to rescue the girl for me, and to provide target practice for those Italian soldiers while I got her away. You're supposed to break her out and then, well, she shrugged. You were supposed to drop dead or get lost, but you didn't, so here we are. She finished her beer. It seems to me there are two possibilities. Either I am your prisoner, or you are mine. I'm not going to hurt you, Fraulein. You'll be safe and out of the war in England. Then let's wrestle. I'll win. And what do you propose we do? Flip a coin? She laughed, then stopped laughing. All right, why not? She produced a 10-centime piece from her pocket. Heads or tails? I always go tails. She rested the coin on her thumbnail, chewed her lip. She looked at me, flipped it. The coin spun through the air. She caught it and slapped it down on her bare arm. I waited. She raised the cupped hand to take a look, then hid the coin again. Enough of this, I'm going to bed. So, heads or tails? I've won, haven't I? So, heads or tails? She considered for a moment. I'll show you. She lifted her hand. What? Germany invades Poland. In the early hours of this morning, German troops marched across the border into Poland. Germany's Chancellor Adolf Hitler alleges the invasion is in response to an attack last night by Polish soldiers on a radio tower near the German border of Gliwice. Polish leaders issued statements calling on their allies Britain and France to mount a military response in accordance with the agreement signed between the three nations earlier this year. Both the Fraulein and I got up early in hopes of getting away before the other. It did neither of us any good. The Italians slept until nearly 10. So we found ourselves sitting on the doorstep of the tavern together, sipping coffee, looking across the valley at the mountains. Beautiful, I remarked. Ooh, it came up heads, you know, I remarked. You were quick, but I saw it. She didn't take her eyes from the view. You are mistaken, of course, she replied. The Italians appeared and we ate breakfast together. Once finished, we bundled ourselves into the truck. Wolf reaching the driver's seat first. The Fraulein turned the key in the ignition. Nothing happened. Ooh, that's probably a bad word. There's something wrong. I'll take a look. Let me try it. Really? How curious. I'll take a look. Fix it, she hissed. I got down from the cab. The smell of petrol was obvious enough to me, but I said nothing. I motioned the Vercolis wordlessly towards the car I had taken from Biasca. Moving to the back of the van, I gestured for the Italians to come out. Vercoli, Louisa, come and help me. I caught Louisa's eye through the window of the van and winked. She's not gonna get that. That's too obvious. Sure. They crept out onto the road. The Fraulein was still fighting with the engine. We slipped away in the car as quietly as we could. We had almost slipped away, but I couldn't resist gloating. No, we're not gonna gloat. We're gonna get out of there. By the time she had a chance to notice, we were gone. Let's go! Ambry. I started the car and slid away as silently as we could. A complication. We came across a car crashed into a tree. Had obviously been a bit too bold around a tight bend. Louisa insisted we stop and help. A test of gallantry, a test of caution. I wanted to pass the crashed car without a second glance, but unfortunately the bend was as perilous as advertised. We almost crashed right beside him. He got a good look at my face as we reversed shamefully back on road. Dang it! Another failure. We are not doing well. That's 4 that the police have. The road wandered through the valley like a drunk, going backwards almost as much as it went forwards, sometimes climbing, sometimes falling steeply away. There was a tunnel at the end of this valley, Louisa remarked to no one in particular. I saw it marked on a map back in the castle. Why were the soldiers showing you a map? Is this valley ever going to end? That's the Gotthard Tunnel. That's the rail line out of Arolo. I don't mean that one, Louisa replied. That one's 57 kilometers long. This one is short and narrow, only a few meters wide. I turned to glance at Fracoli, who shrugged. My daughter is usually right about these things. I could almost believe it, Aubrey. Louisa was beginning to remind me of some of the girls we knew up at Oxford, always throwing a chap off guard with some clever fact or other. To Ambry. The police are searching for you. Okay, we got one step down. Our was recognized by a man who'd heard his description on the radio. Those broadcasts are paying off. Can't wait to tell the chief. Okay. There are only 2 steps instead of 3 to find us, so that's good. Ambry. Oh, the cows. That was funny. Aubrey, let me introduce you to the wonderful little hamlet of Ambry. Let me also introduce this marvelous tradition of dressing cattle up like maidens at a midsummer maypole, parading them through the streets. It began ominously with the echoing of 100 toneless cowbells. We were making slow progress already due to people clogging up the roads to see the cows. Accelerated at the first sign of trouble. The noise built up like thunder as the cows made their way down the mountain roads. Behind the cows were the cattle drivers, yodeling and hollering to jolly them along. The creatures themselves were adorned with garlands of flowers and ribbons. But too floral? Nah. It was quite delightful. I don't mind to join in the yodel. It was quite delightful. Why don't we have traditions like this in England, Aubrey? It makes our British farmers seem rather dour in comparison. We must have been driven right into the middle of the Alphubfart. That festival the innkeeper told us about. The car was useless. We left it in the road and wound our way between the cattle on foot. At least no one would be able to follow us. Or so we thought. Map time. Oh, okay. We lost no time in hiking uphill away from the road. We hitched a ride to Arello on a fruit cart. Let's go hiking uphill. Let's go away from the road. Maybe no one will see us. Oh, this one's slow going. We're gonna get stopped soon. Oh, or not. Let's go! Right? That was a really cute cow. Broccoli struggled to keep up, but he kept on going. Bless him. Luis and I walked side by side, a little way ahead. Those Italian soldiers, did they hurt you? You should tell me what it is you know. Luis was quiet, thoughtful. So because I've refused to tell my own government about it, you'll think I'll tell yours instead? Yes, I had assumed you were on our side. Then you assumed wrong. Then whose side are you on, then? Don't you want to be on the side of democracy? Of decency? This isn't a game, Louisa. It actually is a game. I'm playing a game called Over the Alps. Whose side are you on, then? Perhaps I'm not on any side, she replied. You see things in black and white. I don't. Things are not so simple. So you're a pacifist. Britain will save Europe from the Nazis. So you're a pacifist. In times like these, they really are. Ooh, I don't think so. I don't think that one. So you're a pacifist? I'm saying I want no part in your war. Governments start wars, but it's always ordinary people like me and my father who suffer. Haven't you both already suffered for this war enough? I said. You're already playing a part in this business, whether you like it or not. The only choice you get is what kind of part it's going to be. Maybe you have a point, she said quietly. Maybe I'll think about it. I'm going to the church. A tiny chapel sat on a ledge overlooking the lower slopes. A few goats were chewing at the weeds that fringed its whitewashed walls. I have not taken confession in many weeks, Louisa remarked. There may be a priest inside. You're Catholic, there's no one here, it's just an altar. Go in then, I'll keep watch. Louisa trusts you! Let's go! Thank you, we won't be long. I watched as Louisa and her father entered the chapel. I still hadn't discovered what it was she knew that was so valuable. The Italian government knew, and the Germans too. Now even God was going to know before me. I went to the edge of the mountain ledge to keep watch. I waited for a few minutes. Peace descended. For myself, I paused on the threshold. You goats have it easy, I grumbled to the goats. No. Pause on the threshold. I went to the edge of the mountain ledge to keep watch. The Italians attended confession at the Royal Chapel. Hopefully they didn't say anything incriminating. Something about a confession. I cast my eyes around the surrounding landscape, searching for signs of the Fraulein. I was beginning to lose my patience. We were still in danger from the Fraulein, and I felt the girl and her father weren't taking the urgency of our situation very seriously. Or were they? Perhaps Louisa was asking God for help. Now we can go, Louisa said. To the map. To the map, to the map, to the map, to the map. Let me click the trail. We zigzagged down the slope into Arolo. There were a few bicycles behind the chapel, so we freewheeled into Arolo at high speed. I think we should walk. Oh man, a complication. Bad news, Aubrey. As we descended, I heard the baying of dogs in the distance. The police had set the hounds on our trail. A test of cunning, a test of composure. Cunning. Failure! Man, I'm not doing well with these. I wasn't sure what to do, so we just carried on down the path at a slightly faster pace. The barking of the dogs grew closer, echoing across the hills. Heavens, Aubrey, we better be quick in Arolo. Oh, goodness. The path hugged the valley wall. Mountains loomed on either side. Even higher mountains loomed ahead. I had decided we would head to Zurich. It was a good place to lie low and decide on a course. The Germans would be least effective within Switzerland's metropolis. It had good rail connections. It would give the Riccolis options once they decided which way to run. The only flaw in the plan was that Zurich was over 100 miles away and we still had a Nazi on our tail. Suddenly Louisa exclaimed. This is it! Do you remember the tunnel I told you about? It's here. I mean somewhere, but I recognize the contours. Can you find it? It is on the north side, she replied, but that's all I know. The plan I saw was just a sketch of the mountains, nothing more. My daughter is very special, Primo put in. Very rare. The path began to descend. We fell into silence as we picked our way carefully down towards the small town of Arolo. I don't like this. The police are searching for you. We tracked the suspect to Oratorio Santa Barbara, where the priest told us a pair of strangers had attended confession. He wouldn't break the confessional seal, quite rightly, but we could tell from his sweating that he'd heard something shocking. We picked up the suspect's bed sheets and used them to give our hounds the scent. They're straining at the leashes. Looks like they're onto something. Quick, we'll cut them off at Arolo. This is not good. The train to Gronshenchen leaves whenever you are ready. Hotel this Alp. It. What's this? Oh gosh. If Luisa's recollection of a secret tunnel out of Irola was correct, then my guess for an entrance was somewhere in the military fort at the foot of the Goddard Pass. The fort was a granite-roofed block, sunk into the ground, with a wide trench encircling it. It must have filled up with snow for 6 months every year and buried the place completely. If there really is a tunnel, Louisa hissed, as we crouched in a stand of bushes by the edge of the trench, then how are we going to get in it? I do not like tunnels, Roccoli added unhelpfully. I scouted the perimeter. We'll have to get into the fort somehow. We can knock on the door and ask. That sounds like a bad idea. I scouted the perimeter. Creeping through some bushes, I reached the edge of the trench and peered down. The drop was about 6 feet. The trench ran in two directions, back towards the fort and away from it, sloping down towards a dark, arched opening, a tunnel, just like Louisa had said. I waited and watched. I scrambled back to the others to tell them what I found. I found the tunnel mouth. Better still, it's wide open. And to reach it, must we crawl across the grass like cockroaches? Rocoli complained. Excellently put. This way, if you please, unless you'd prefer to take the train. Actually, I think the tunnel's a terrible idea. Excellently put. This way, if you please. Come on, Papa, Louisa said, patting her father gently on the head. Smith knows what he's doing, don't you, Smith? I nodded, and we scrambled back over the edge of the trench. Primo, you go first. I'll go first. Louisa, can you make it down? I'll go first. The drop down into the grass was perhaps 6 feet. I slid myself over the edge, clinging on with my fingers until finally I dropped. Not you, Louisa. It's easy. For you, perhaps, she hissed back. You're taller than me. Come on now. I'll catch you. You can do it. Come on, nothing to worry about. Let's go. I'll catch you. She grumbled. Her face disappeared, then a pair of shoes appeared over the edge of the trench. As soon as her legs were in reach, I grabbed them. Now you let go, I told her, through a mouthful of skirt. No, she called down, because if I let go, I will fall. Trust me, I have you. She let go, but our balance was all off, or was it mine? We fell backwards together onto the grass. Louisa cried out, then laughed with embarrassment. We both did. Better luck next time, eh? I said as I rose and offered her my hand. We looked up toward the edge, where Ricoli wasn't. Where did he go? He's run away. Perhaps he saw someone coming. Where did he go? Papa? Nothing. Maybe he lost sight of us, Louisa suggested. I'm afraid he's on his own. We're not going to be able to get back up there to get him. I suppose we might wait a moment or two. She crossed her arms. I'm not going without him. So what's your plan then? Climb back out there on my shoulders like a circus performer? You may have to. He was slowing us down anyway. You may have to. You have left Fracoli behind. This is unfair. If we had just taken the train out of Arolo. It was the sound of footsteps that settled the argument. Someone was coming. I grabbed Louisa's hand and hauled her away down the tunnel. Secret tunnel. Secret tunnel. Through the mountains. Secret, 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 secret. Tunnel. Oh wow, we made it all the way through. The Goddard Tunnel. Ooh. The darkness of the tunnel beckoned, but Louisa stood by the entrance refusing to budge. Now we go back for him. Okay, hold on. I need a sip of water. Okay. The darkness of the tunnel beckoned, but Louisa stood by the entrance refusing to budge. Now we go back for him. He's a grown man, Louisa. He'll be alright. Perhaps you should go and look for him inside the army base. Can you see any sign of him? No. We were both whispering, our hissed words echoing away down the dark tunnel in front of us. If they found him, they'll have put him on the train. He knows where we're going. We can't stand here forever, Louisa. He knows where we're going. Louisa is losing patience with you. That's not good. I motioned towards the tunnel. We're ahead of Wolf for now. Let's get to Goshenen. Goshenen? Goshenen? I don't know. And keep it that way. She paused, still looking back at the tunnel mouth, hoping Vercoli would appear. He didn't. She nodded unhappily. I took her arm in the semi-darkness. Come on, this way. We'll be in Goshenen in a few hours. Your father will be there, I promise. Don't. No, you shouldn't have promised that, Home Slice. The tunnel seemed to run for miles. With no electric lighting, it was pitch dark. Narrow enough that we had to walk single file. I led the way. Are there rats down here? Louisa asked. There must be rats. Shh, did you hear that? They'll have nothing to eat down here. Rats can't hurt you. They'd have nothing to eat down here. Except for us, she grumbled. We walked on, underground, in darkness, time and distance, telescopes outwards. Intimacy is easy. I'm not going to let anything happen to you, Louisa. As Italian soldiers, did they hurt you? Your father seems devoted to you. Let's go with the first one. I'm not going to let anything happen to you, Louisa. She scoffed gently at my chivalry. What do you call this, Den? A stroll in the hills? I stopped. We had reached a branch. Identical tunnels disappeared into darkness in both directions. We go left now. You're certain? How can you remember this map so well, after all this time? Trust me. After a thoughtful pause, she added, I have a photographic memory. I remember everything I see, even if I've only glimpsed it. Are you serious? That was what she claimed, Aubrey. Now I've heard it all. That was what she claimed, Aubrey. A photographic memory. Cripes. We went left. Map? No, tunnel. A glimmer of light, but it wasn't the exit. It was coming from the arc lamps strung along the length of the railway line. Our secret passage had opened out into the wider darkness of the Goddard Rail Tunnel. A memory like yours, Louisa, it would be invaluable in a war. You saw something in Milan, something you weren't supposed to see. You really have a photographic memory. Let's go with this one. Louisa entrusted you with her secret. Oh, I got an achievement. Louisa's secret. I paused to see if she would confirm my suspicions, but she said nothing. I tried again. The Italian soldiers, they wanted you to tell them about it. She thought for a long time, then nodded. It's a blueprint for a compact radio transmitter, small enough to fit in a suitcase. The resistance got it from the Russians. A radio inside a suitcase, Aubrey. Can you imagine? The Axe ones are always so, like, brazen and just, like, not a vibe. If I had one of those, I could have radioed control from Riva San Vital, known straight away that Vercoli wasn't my contact. I'd never met this girl at all. How did the soldiers know about your memory? Remember all of it? The entire blueprint? How did the Fraulein come to hear about you? Let's go with the first one. And how did the soldiers know about your memory? It's no secret, Louisa laughed sadly. My father boasts about it to everyone who comes into the restaurant. He used to make me recite the wine list when I was tiny. It was only then, Aubrey. I only saw it then, Aubrey, how lonely it was to be Louisa Vercoli. The tunnel filled with a roar. We pressed ourselves against the stone wall as a train thundered past. The echoes battered us in waves. Thank heavens the train was electric. If it had been a steamer, we might have been poached. Not much further, Louisa said. Brother seems devoted to you. Memory like yours, it could be invaluable. You really do have a photographic memory. I don't like the other options. She was quiet for a moment. I really do. Ever since I was little. Papa says I could write down whole words I'd seen before I even knew how to read. We walked on, now with a coin of sunlight ahead, drawing us along towards the end of the tunnel. There we go, map time. We'll go. It literally is through the mountains. Secret, 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 secret tunnel. The tunnel came out at Goshinen. Stopped in the mountains. A complication. We disembarked at Goshinen. As we walked across the platform, a police whistle shrieked behind us, and we heard the thudding of heavy boots. Stop right there, shouted an officious voice. A test of nerves, a test of courage. Success! The police weren't in pursuit of me, but of a vagabond who'd snatched a lady's purse. I tackled him, putting my rugby skills to good use. Rugby, lad. The policeman shook me by the hand and bid me good day. Phew! That could have been bad. Goshinen. Broccoli, grazie al cielo. Thank God! Thank goodness. Broccoli exclaimed, rising to clasp his daughter's hands and kiss her on both cheeks before nodding to me. I'm very glad you made it. You've caught the sun, Louisa remarked to her father. I thought the train went through a tunnel. 6 or 7 minutes only. Since then I have had a gelato, a coffee, and a little siesta outside this charming cafe. The moment called for celebration. This was no place for a touching reunion. Act 3, The Chase. Ooh, exciting. I'll admit, I was growing rather fond of them, but honestly, sitting in broad daylight right by the only rail line in town, it was as if you wanted the Germans to catch him. Okay, I vaguely remembered this part. We took lunch in a hotel perched at the base of one mountain, with a view across the valley to the next. We tore through our starters and soup. Louisa wiped both her hands on a napkin, then thrust one of them in my general direction. We have still not been properly introduced. My name is Luisa Maria Alessandra Vercoli. Smith Asherton White, I replied. A pleasure. Smith. Smith, she repeated. That's all. What's your first name? Marcus Smith? Everybody just calls me Smith. Just call me Smith. All my friends do. I'd rather call you James, like James Mason. He's my favorite actor. He's how I think Englishmen should be. Please excuse my daughter, Vocoli put in. She forgets her manners sometimes. I find manners to be overrated. I've noticed, and it's most refreshing. These times call for plain speaking, a bit of honesty. I've noticed, and it's most refreshing. Louisa likes you. Nice. I do believe Louisa would have stuck her tongue out at me if her father had not been watching. She skewered a melon ball, then chomped it down like a noisy child. You speak excellent English, Louisa. So tell me, Louisa, if you weren't escaping for your life, what would you be doing right now? Are you with the fascists? Are you from Mussolini? No, that's not a good one. Tell me, Louisa, if you weren't escaping for your life, what would you be doing now? Studying, she answered. My daughter is training to be an engineer, Vercoli began. They do not usually accept women, but they may have made an exception for my Louisa on account of her special gifts. He beamed with a father's pride. My Louisa's memory is exceptional. How do you say in English? Exceptional. Coffee came with slabs of chocolate from a famous chocolatier in the Swiss town of Schweiz, allegedly. Broccoli broke this in half and put the other half on his daughter's plate. Stirred my coffee and gazed out at the view. We will get you somewhere safe, I promise you. We need to get moving soon. Lisa gulped down the rest of her coffee. It was one of those Viennese style ones with whipped cream on top. She scooped up the remaining cream out from the bottom of the cup with her finger. Aubrey, I think this girl was raised by wolves. I'm ready now, she said. The hotel bar swilled with millionaires and debutantes. From the window we had a view over the cars assembling for the Goschenen to Interlaken road race. No one here seemed to have a care in the world. There's a train to Erstfeld in a few hours, I remarked. From there it's an hour more to Zurich. We're almost there. And will Zurich be safe? Vercoli begged. I do not know if we can return to Italy. As safe as anywhere can be these days. I have people in Zurich. Your troubles will finally be over, Vercoli. Okay, I don't want to lie to them. I have people in Zurich. Good, good, said Vercoli. But Smith, how can I ever repay you for what you've done for us? Just look after your daughter. Perhaps your daughter can tell me about that radio transmitter. Be more careful next time, Primo. Yes, you are right. I will keep Louisa away from my political friends from now on. She will never see any secret papers or hear of anything important ever again. She will know nothing. We need to get some tickets, Louisa declared, rising to her feet. I'll go. Stay with your father. I'll go. I'll come with you. And if the Fraulein appears in the queue behind you, you'd better go with her, Smith, Vercoli said, to be on the safe side. Louisa rolled her eyes, but did not argue. We set off for the station. Something bad is gonna happen. I know your plan is to go to Zurich, Louisa began once we were walking, but I've seen a map of this region. I think there are some better options. I'll explain once we're aboard the train if you like, or your father will. Is this another one of your secret tunnels? An angry silence. I tried mollifying her a little. Your trick finding us that tunnel to Arolo was very helpful, I said, trying to sound encouraging. I don't think I've ever thanked you for that at the time, but I'm saying it now, alright? She hurried in front of me and shoved me in the chest. Why do you insist on talking to me like a child? She demanded. I'm 23 years old. You aren't even that much older than me. 23? I had assumed younger, based on precisely this kind of behavior, in fact. Louisa, you're making a scene, I warned her. I have no luck with women in train stations, Aubrey. I'm 31. I have no luck with women in... Louisa is losing faith in you. No! Louisa shouted at you in the train station. Passerby might have noticed. Her voice was steadily rising, a stream of insults coming out, hands waving all around, and just like that she stormed away. I should have gone after her to apologize, but I didn't. I was darn well going to get the tickets so we could get on the train and get out of danger. I had just about reached the station when I heard it. A scream, then the roar of a car engine. I walked out on the road, already knowing it was too late. I raced back down the street. A few people were crouching either side of something lying on the side of the road. I grabbed a stranger. There was a car. Which way did it go? I raced over to see who it was. Louisa? The picture was clear enough at a glance. Wolf grabbing Louisa. Vercoli trying to stop her. Wolf running him over with her car. I took off at a run. This man's name is Primo Varcolis. He is well cared for. I pushed the onlookers aside to reach his side. Of course, but where are you? I was already gone. There was not a moment to lose. To the map. I think we're nearing the end of this adventure. Whoa, this one's a crazy little trail. I was behind the wheel of a racing car in moments. Whoa. A complication. The darn car wouldn't start, Aubrey. The engine coughed like a geriatric, turned over and went to sleep. I had to get it going. The Fraulein was getting further away by a test of finesse, a test of brute force, a test of finesse. Success! When I'd hot-wired the car, I must have fried a circuit somewhere. A few seconds of nimble-fingered fiddling was all it took to get the engine roaring again, and off I went. Police are searching for you. Bystanders spotted the suspect at Goshenen having a tremendous row with his Italian companion. We asked the ticket vendor where he was headed, and luckily she remembered which ticket he'd bought. The Noose Titans. Oh no. Okay, they're only one step though. Furka Pass. In a hot-wired Maserati souped up by some harebrained Swiss mechanic under orders from a millionaire idiot. An idiot who didn't deserve a car like this one. The Fraulein drove fast, but I could drive faster. I might have died on that road, Aubrey. The transmission worked only half the time. The gears changed with a squeal. For all I knew, the darned caps weren't even screwed in. Screwed. The car tore through the landscape like a red bullet. It was rather fun. It was a car made by fools for fools, so I drove it like a fool. It was rather fun. I relaxed into the front wheel steering, leaned back, and ran the engine hot. I tore along the mountain road at 100 miles an hour, and God forbid anyone who got in my way. Ooh, that kind of hurt my eyes. God did not forbid the goat. You've lost control of the car. I swear to avoid it. That was my mistake. If I'd blown straight through it, perhaps the Maserati could have survived. The car flew across the far edge of the road. I shut my eyes and pumped the brake. I twisted the wheel, trying to regain control. I clung on grimly. Wherever the car was going, I was going with it. Let's do that. A moment later, I was in midair. Everything was heat, sparks, and fury. I think the car turned over. I found myself wondering if the goat had survived. Crash and burn. I got an achievement. You crashed your car on Furka Pass and passed out. I blacked out. That's not good. Meringen. I heard a woman's voice nearby, but my eyes weren't working properly yet. Louisa? Fraulein? Who's there? Please be slow, the woman replied, moving closer to the bed. A wet towel pressed at my brow. Here, there, it stung. You are hurt, but you will be all right, I think. I passed out again. Withdraw from Poland or face war, Chamberlain warns Germans. In a speech to the House of Commons last night, Britain's Prime Minister launched a scathing attack on Germany. He warned that if German troops were not withdrawn from Poland, Britain would honor its pledges to its Polish ally and initiate military action against Germany. September 2nd, 1939. In we go. I was in Meringen. Meringen? 30 miles from where I'd crashed. I'd been scraped off the roadside and taken to the Hotel Leopold to recover. It's a tiny town that bustles with the rich and famous. The woman tending to me was my rescuer. Oh, I didn't mean to click on it, but okay. An old bird with rheumy eyes. She said she'd seen the smoke rising from my motor car. The car had caught fire eventually, and worried it might be the result of a bomb. She had paid for my room in her hotel, and nursed me herself. Her name was Mathilde, and she told me. I thanked her, but said I had to be on my way. I must pay you back. I asked what she wanted in return. She waved my remark aside. None of that. I'm enjoying spending my late husband's money on a troubled young man. I might make a habit of it, she grinned. It would have infuriated him. I was warm, Aubrey, content, eating zopf with honey on a tray in bed and sipping coffee. I searched my memory for something. I felt I'd overlooked some small yet crucially important detail. Then I remembered. Riccoli, Louisa, the Fraulein. I had been out of action for at least a day, and I had lost all three of them. how pretty it is. I love the like WPA style art. 10 minutes beyond Meringen, whatever. The road forks into two. One leads to Zurich and Germany, and the other to Bern and eventually to France. The Fraulein was most likely going for the German border. The Fraulein would have places to hide in the Alps. It would be foolish to guess which road they had taken. Going for the German border. But would I be able to catch up with her in time, especially without a car? I needed to be sure. I approached the hotel concierge. Perhaps an old-fashioned detective work would prevail. I went to talk to the patrons of the hotel bar. Not that I really expected the Fraulein would have stopped in for a drink. Not really her style. I bought a round of drinks for everyone. I asked the barman, "I'm looking for my wife," I announced loudly. I had their attention quickly enough, a mixture of sniggers and sympathy. She left me and took our car. My wife was German, I told them. A tall blonde with the bluest eyes you'd ever seen. We had been married in front of Neuschwanstein Castle and swum in a nearby waterfall in our undergarments. A high-spirited girl, and that was the problem. As for me, I don't remember a German woman, said a robust voice a few stools away, but there was a man who came through here yesterday. Perhaps he was with her. A Swiss lady, her hiking poles leaning against the bar, drinking a Weissbier. Oh, really? Worth noticing, was he? You mean, was he handsome? No, but there was something off about him. He drank like he had 5 minutes left to live, one in each hand. Did he say where he was going? Did you catch his name? Was there a girl with him? Let's go. Did he say where he was going? Interlaken. He said he hoped he and his friends would stop there for the night. Poor man looked desperate as a dog, like he had been dragged through hell and back. She drained her glass and clapped it onto the table. Feel like you, actually. Was this a clue worth following, Aubrey? I was desperate enough that I followed it anyway. To the map. Whoa, we have quite the ways to go to Interlaken. A post bus ran into Interlaken daily. Let me guess, a complication. Yep, the boiling over of tensions in Europe seemed to have made even the Swiss twitchy. The harmless little post bus was stopped at a roadblock and searched by the soldier who asked to see my papers. A test of charisma, a test of stealth. Charisma. Success! I patted my pockets and realized my fake papers had gone missing in the last few days' chaos. I gave him the biggest, brightest smile and told him I was terribly sorry. The soldier grumbled but waved us on through. Nice. The road was dreadfully scenic, Aubrey. The sort of route poets would lose their marbles trying to describe. But I won't bother. I didn't see any of it. The sun set across the mountains in a whiskey-colored blaze, and I didn't drink a drop of it. One question consumed me. Where was the Fraulein taking Louisa? Who was the man with them? If Louisa truly memorized the secret radio transmitter, I think we should be concerned with Louisa. This wasn't the way to the German border. She must have had some other destination in mind, somewhere between here and France. These were my thoughts as I tapped my fingers and willed the post bus to go faster. Alright, so we're down to a clean slate here. We just found the stolen car, at least what remained of it. Just burning wreckage at the bottom of a ditch. No sign of the suspect, though. Against the odds, he must have somehow escaped with his life. Okay, we're still good. Interlaken. Whoa, okay, there's a lot of things to do here. Let's go to the hotel. I arrived into Interlaken in darkness and checked into the first hotel I found. I was exhausted, still reeling from that crash on the Furka Pass. Once in the room, I collapsed on the bed in a heap, barely even kicked off my shoes. My eyes closed, and all I could see was Primo Vercoli's face. Europe at war. Britain and France declare war on Germany. Honoring their treaty with Poland, France and Great Britain have declared war against Germany. In a speech given today, British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain vowed that Britain and its allies would prevail against a regime characterized by brute force, bad faith, injustice, oppression, and persecution. September 3rd, 1939. Interlaken marked. ate quickly, then headed over to the town's covered market. If Wolf had come through Interlaken, she may have stocked up on supplies. After a few false starts, I struck gold at the stall of an old boot seller. A tall blonde woman and a brown-haired girl, you say? Ah, perhaps you mean the nurse. She came through here with her ward yesterday. They were going to Lauterbrunnen, just south of here. Her ward? You're certain? What's in Lauterbrunnen? Bracing mountain air. The doctor seemed to think it would help with the girl's, mental condition. A doctor, an Austrian doctor, so the girl is mad, is she? What did they buy? Um, a doctor, an Austrian doctor? I thought he was German, but he might have been Austrian. That dog Schweiger was helping them. Was he an agent like Fräulein Wolf, or had she twisted him around her little finger? Let's just go to Lauterbrunnen. Wow, we have quite the ways to go. I continued south on foot. Oh, okay. No stops. Phew. Lauterbrunnen. Of course, there's a church. Where do I click? Oh, over there. Lauterbrunnen was buried in a deep valley. Its streets boomed with the endless cries of the waterfalls plunging down the mountains on either side. At the very bottom of this place is a tavern with a dark corner. In this corner were the drooping mustaches of Herr Dr. Schweiger, a broken man. I'd sent him down this path when I'd stolen his car. I couldn't help but admire the Fräulein's handiwork. There was no sign of the others. I sat down opposite of him. He looked up sharply. A flash of hope died on his face as soon as it appeared. Oh, it's you. No, we're not gonna do that one. Awfully sorry about your car, Schweiger. So, Herr Schweiger, we meet again. You're looking for Fräulein Wolf, yeah? Well, she's gone. What happened? She just disappeared, he replied, like a lost child. I went to the bar to get her a gin and tonic. That's all I did, and when I came back, she was gone. He nodded. He had it bad, Aubrey. Whatever Wolf had done to him in the last 48 hours, she had done it exceptionally well. What about you? He asked, seeming to actually see me for the first time. You hurt your head? It's nothing. I crashed my car driving over the Furka Pass. I'm going to find her. Please don't say you're going to fight me for her, he groaned. I don't feel like fighting. You can keep the Fraulein. I'm here for Louisa. Herr Schweiger seemed relieved. Then you have a deal. The art style reminds me of, like, the Tintin comics. Oh, excuse me. The art style of The Adventures of Tintin. I can't remember who it's by. Alright, let's get a move on to Jungfrau Joch. Only one route out of Lauterbrunnen, and that was up. To the north. We sat facing each other on either side of the train car. Schwager looked ill, sweating despite the icy mountain air. He caught my eyes on him. I see you judging me, he growled, but I love her, I tell you. Call me a fool if you like, but I do. At least he had some spirit left in him. But surely you know she's a Nazi. You'll get over it. Oh gosh. This probably seems the best one. However sour her head turned, perhaps it would prove useful. But surely you know she's a Nazi. You'll get over it. The Fraulein is evil. Evil. You think she is some kind of witch, I suppose, because she is a woman of strong political conviction, Schweigel replied, sounding indignant. You may not like that, but I find it very modern. Schweiger, as a doctor, you must see how wrong her ideas are. Yes, when patriotism leads to tyranny and murder. I saw then that Schweiger had been lost years before the Fraulein had met him. I think, yes. When, when patriotism leads to tyranny and murder. Yes, yes, we have strong leaders now, but they are needed, Schweiger replied dismissively, to restore our way of life and defend it from those who wish to destroy it. He was nodding, like a boy proudly telling his father what he learned in school that day. Can't you see the Nazis are leading Europe into another war? And when the Nazis come for you, for your family, unless you blindly accept everything your government tells you. I could ask the same question of you, Englishman. My government doesn't go around murdering its critics. I shouldn't have bothered arguing, Aubrey. Their way of thinking cannot be defeated by reasoned argument. It speaks only the language of violence and power. Nazism is a vicious cancer. Our only course is to sharpen our knives and cut it out before it spreads. Dang. This just got really real. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, obviously it's based in reality because it's based off of history, but just like this discussion of tyranny and power, it's all very. Ooh, Act 4, checkmate. It's all very topical. Ooh. Let's just listen to this music for a sec. Vibing. Can't see me, but I'm dancing. Anyway. An observatory. Very cool. We rode the elevator up to the peak of the mountain in silence. At the top, I threw open the cage door and stepped out onto a narrow gantry. I'll tell you, Aubrey, it was the roof of the world. I never had a problem with heights, but this was perhaps my limit. Let's go with that. A madman with a gun. I got an achievement. The view below was an enormous white void, a vast valley spanned by a frozen river of compacted ice. The Alps glacier. I turned to look at the brick building behind me. It was topped with a telescope dome, some kind of observatory. There was no way the Fraulein could have doubled back, and nowhere for her to hide. And Schweiger was pointing a gun at me. She gave me this. She said if I saw you again, I should shoot you. Keeping my hands up, I tried talking sense into the man. She's using you, Schweiger. Surely you see that. Let's talk about this, shall we? I'm just here to help Louisa, that's all. His hand wobbled badly. The Italian girl? But the Fraulein told me. Perhaps he couldn't even remember what the Fraulein had told him. Let's not do anything foolish. You don't want to kill anyone. That's not who you are. Let's just find Fraulein Wolf and talk about it. Yeah. You got the Fraulein's gun from Herr Schweiger. The gun wavered, badly this time, then he threw it to the floor as if it were hot. I snatched it up and put it in my pocket. Good. I took a deep breath. Now let's go inside. It's bloody freezing out here. I headed for the door. Entering the observatory was like stepping into the guts of a gigantic metal beast. Cables and pipes snaked from floor to ceiling. Workbenches were laid out with brass spheres, mesh boxes, mechanical contraptions, spinning discs. Charts and star maps plastered the walls. Gauges ticked, needles scratched out graphs on rolls of paper. All very interesting, I'm sure. I looked under the tables first. Nothing. There was no one here. I was looking for people under the tables? That seems kind of silly. Shraga tore through the room in a fury. I thought he might start pulling machines from the walls to see if the Fraulein was hiding behind any of them. You said she would be here, he yelled. She has to be here. There's a room above. Try up there. At the far end, a door led onto a narrow balcony. A storage locker leant against one wall. There was a trap in the floor. Ooh, there was a trap in the floor! Padlock shut. I cast about it for a key, but didn't see one. Can't you shoot the lock off? Shraga demanded. I could, but I don't think your Fraulein would have locked the padlock behind her. There's a room above. Try up there. At the far end, there's a room above. Try up there. Shraga dashed up the stairs. With him out of the way, I could look around properly. Far end, a door led into a narrow balcony. I opened the glass door, stepped outside, and caught my balance quickly. I was standing at the head of a great long table. Mountains with misty heads of hair were seated on either side. The Alech glacier was our tablecloth, sheer white and freshly pressed. Two black ants were crawling slowly across it, one in front, the other behind. They were heading towards a small notch at the base of one of the mountains. They reached it and disappeared. The meaning of what I had seen was quite clear to me. I locked the position of that black notch in my mind as best I could. I would have to get back down there somehow and follow them. I went back inside. A storage locker leant against one wall. I pulled it open and a pair of old skis fell out. What else could I do, Aubrey? Schweiger was distracted. There was no time to lose. I strapped on the skis and launched myself over the balcony. A moment later, I was tucking down the slope below. Yo, look at him go! He's zooming. Weisscher? I couldn't even read that. The snow was firm, not fresh, and I soon picked up a set of ski tracks to follow. There were sledge tracks weaving in and out around them. Then up ahead I caught the sight of the entrance of a military bunker, carved into the base of a mountain. Some kind of storage facility, perhaps? Part of Switzerland's vast network of alpine defenses. There didn't seem to be any way to approach the bunker except head on. Fraulein was keeping Louisa alive, it seemed, but for how much longer? Head on. If there were guards watching, I would have to do some pretty sharp skiing to stay alive, especially if they had a mounted gun. There's a goat! I approached the heavy steel door of the bunker. The off-white paint, much of it peeled and chipped, appeared yellow against the snow. What were German agents doing in a Swiss military bunker? I couldn't see any way to open the door. I stretched the skis out of sight and hunkered down, covering myself in snow. Ooh. What were German agents doing in a Swiss military bunker? The bunker appeared old, abandoned perhaps, quietly occupied, then to serve as a covert German base. I couldn't see any way to open the door. How had the Fraulein announced her visit? A specific pattern of knocks, perhaps? I stashed the skis out of sight and hunkered down, covering myself in snow. There was only one thing I could do. I paced over to the door. I knocked on it. That's not at all what I was expecting. Goat. That was so cute. I knew you'd come, she smiled, although I had been hoping you would rescue me. Now get captured yourself. I haven't really described Louisa to you, I think, Aubrey. Despite her tone, she was tired and scared. I wanted to comfort her, but my wrists were tied to a chair as well, so there wasn't much I could do to help. Getting captured was the only way to get inside. I wondered if you had some idea of the layout of this place. Control will want a full map of the place, I should think. You want me to find a way out? Isn't that your job? Nothing at all in that vice-like memory of yours that might help. That seems mean. Yes, but I thought I'd give you a turn at it. She groaned, and I could see her hand straining at the ropes, trying to offer a dismissive wave. Louisa and I were tied up side by side to wooden chairs. They looked like they'd come from a prep school's exam hall. Water break. We were deep inside the bunker, in an office of some kind, and the bunker was large, dug into the underbelly of the mountain. Perhaps it was due to become larger. I'd seen the dynamite stacked near the outer door. Has the Fraulein been interrogating you? What have they asked you? Don't worry, Louisa, I'll get us out of here. What have they asked you? The same questions, over and over, but in different ways. I think they assume I'm some kind of mathematics genius, but a bit slow and naive, like one of those savants, said Louisa. I'm playing along with that, of course. Clever girl. Her head came up sharply. But Papa was hurt, but he's getting better, was waiting for us in Zurich. I left Goshen in a hurry. I don't know how he is. Was hurt, but he's getting better. Are you sure? She studied my face, then looked away. You don't know, do you? You've been too busy running after me. Our conversation was cut short. The door opened, and there was the Fraulein, that little mouser in her hand. Hard to believe she was the same woman I'd met on that train from Milan. Wolf, we meet again. Was she alone, I wondered. Perhaps this place was barely staffed. I had seen 2 soldiers, no more. Good odds. She looked tired. Shadows under her eyes. Pale skin. She even seemed a little out of breath. Do you need to sit down, Fraulein? You can have my seat. I'd worry if I were you, Fraulein. What are you planning to do with us, Wolf? Yeah. She seemed to think for a moment, as though she hadn't yet considered the question. Tell me, Mr. Smith, do you play chess? Of course, and I'm very good at it too. Only with worthy opponents. That's a game with a ball, isn't it? Let's be funny. How droll. I suppose you're one of the card players, she replied with contempt. From a locker at the back of the office, she produced an old board and a set of heavy metal pieces. She pulled over a chair and set it down to use as a table. You and I will play. If I win, I will shoot the girl. If you win, then we will play again. She set her gun down and began laying out the chess pieces. Or she can give me the information I require. Didn't you hear me? I don't play chess. You'll never let us go, with or without Louisa's information. You're afraid I'll win, that's why the stakes are so one-sided. I accept, but not on those terms. I accept. You're afraid I'll win, that's why the stakes are so one-sided. You'll never let us go, with or without Louisa's information. Of course I will. Into the snow without coats. You will freeze to death on that glacier, of course. But just think of the scenery. A pawn stepped out on the board with a slight magnetic click, the sound of a safety catch being removed. White king's pawn to the center. Your move, Airsmith. Oh gosh, same pawn, same move. The horse to, out in front. The goat one, move that. Oh gosh. Let me draw this out real quick. We got a white pawn there and a black pawn. I think I'm gonna move the black pawn. You don't actually know chess notation. Don't be too hard on him, the Fraulein said. She pulled my pawn forward. He can't even see the board properly from that chair. King's bishop to knight's file, Smith. What? Louisa strained at the ropes that held her wrists. She couldn't see the board either. At least let Louisa see the board, Fraulein. Why? There's nothing yet to see yet. Now play. Knight forward, somewhere. Bring out my queen. Put her somewhere sensible. Bishop, do something useful with it. Bishop, why not? I would use this one. The Fraulein moved my piece, then quickly responded, advancing another of her pawns. There was no way I was going to win the game, Aubrey. I was playing in the dark. You must be wondering how we acquired this bunker, Wolf remarked casually, leaning back in her chair while she awaited my move. From the redoubtable Swiss army, no less, they built these places to defend themselves against us. If you're hoping Louisa will talk, she'll need to see how badly I'm doing. You are underestimating the Swiss, you know. Jump the knight on the left there. She'll need to see how badly I'm doing. The Fraulein considered this. All right, you can watch your champion fail. Pulling the pawn move is wise. Oh, thank you. Pulling a knife from her belt, Wolf slit the ropes around Louisa's wrists. Then she leant down, hovering the knife point in Louisa's face. But no talking. Louisa gave a tiny nod. Wolf returned to her chair. Still your move, Smith. Advance the queen's pawn. Bring out my queen. Put her somewhere sensible. Protect the bishop with the knight. I don't know what to do. Move more pawns. I don't know. Which pawn? This one? Alright. Rubbing her wrist, Louisa approached the board. Her face quickly became a picture of horror. I know, the Fraulein enthused. He's simply useless, isn't he? Her knight leapt out into the middle of the board. Louisa clicked her tongue, but then, almost too quickly to notice, she held up her little finger, wiggled it, and looked sharply away. A moment later, she did it again. Bring out... Louisa likes you once more. Hey! Let's use this one, shall we? Louisa was flashing me a sudden, unexpected smile. The Fraulein thought for a moment. She advanced another pawn. Louisa frowned. It was too generous of the Swiss, this gift of theirs. Don't you think? Wolf remarked. They left it undefended, but it's well built, excellently positioned. Your left flank is exposed, by the way. Remarkable. Bring out my queen, put her somewhere sensible, bring out my rook. Remarkable. You might be wondering what good a base in the Alps is. Wolf rolled a captured piece between her fingers. You see, it's a good place for a back door. She pointed down significantly. She stifled a yawn. Your move. More pawns! The Fraulein played the move for me. Louisa nodded slightly. It must have been a good move. The Fraulein paused, then chose a move. Her bishop took mine. Superior tactics always win the day. Bring out my queen, put her somewhere sensible. Bring out my rook. Advance the queen's pawn. I'm just gonna keep going pawns. She played the move. What do you mean? Louisa, you're giving me nothing to work with! Louisa shook her head furiously, but it was too late to take it back. The Fraulein fell silent. White's backline was clear enough to the castle. Wolf brought her rook into play. I could see Louisa was thinking quickly. Then she quickly held up two fingers, crossed. What? Two fingers crossed. Oh, that's R in sign language. The Fraulein played the move for me. Je parle. Louisa cursed softly. Dang it! I guess she wouldn't know American Sign Language. The Fraulein merely glanced down before playing again. Her knight swept across the board and took my pawn. You will find you cannot win against an overwhelming force. Now my queen, bring out another pawn! I would use this one. The Fraulein responded quickly. She developed another pawn. Things were not going well. Louisa's eyes flicked across the board. She wiggled her finger again. Advance the knight's pawn. Into the lion's den with you, little pawn. Very gently, Louisa nodded. Okay, whew! The Fraulein thought for a moment. Her bishop retreated. Louisa's eyes scanned the ranks and files of the board. Then she held one hand up to the top of her head, fingers pointed upwards. The Fraulein, I'm like doing this action. The Fraulein peered around and Louisa quickly pretended to be adjusting her hair. Okay, that's gotta be the rook. Or is that the queen? You know what? Queen. I got an achievement. Tell me everything. Well, she played the move. Louisa allowed herself another quick smile. Okay, phew! Wolf was intent on the board now, and she had taken her eyes off Louisa entirely. Carefully, silently, the Italian woman had lifted the little Mauser from where Fraulein had put it down. Ooh, so Louisa has a gun now. The Fraulein nodded firmly. Her rook advanced. We're going to blow a tunnel, Smith. Isn't that marvelous? A tunnel all the way to Zurich, then we'll pour down into Switzerland by the tens of thousands. We'll capture the castle, so to speak. You'll never get away with what you're doing here. Achievement unlocked. Won a game of chess. Hey! Who'll stop us? The Swiss army? All 8 of them? She shrugged. We've been shipping dynamite here for nearly 10 years, you know. Some quietly stolen from the work they did building that charming railway through the Jungfrau Joch. Other places, too. Eyes screwed shut, Louisa swung as hard as she could. It was glorious. The Mauser butt connected with Wolf's skull with a sickening crack. The Fraulein was knocked sprawling across the board. The chair upended, pieces scattered in all directions. That's for Papa, Louisa hissed. Black queen takes white queen, I remarked. Good shot, watch your follow-through. I cheered from my chair. I cheered from my chair. Louisa's smile was quick, almost shy. Oh, but your wrist, let's see now. Frisking the prone Fraulein, Louisa located her knife and sliced me loose. Gone was the distracted girl I'd rescued in Bellinzona. She was rescuing me now. A moment later, we were out the door. Uh-oh. It wasn't hard to scuttle quietly past the guards without being spotted. The Germans seemed to run the place with a skeleton staff. We reached the front chamber of the bunker. On the wall beside the outer door was a large metal lever labeled Action. She'll be back on her feet soon, I said, looking back down the corridor. I threw it. I started for the stash of dynamite I'd seen by the door. You know what? Let's go out with a bang. But Louisa grabbed my arm. Merda, what are you, mad, Smith? We're in a sealed metal chamber. The explosion would rip us to shreds. She'd make a good engineer one day, that one. Louisa threw the lever. The door began to rise, accompanied by an ear-splitting grinding of gears that echoed around the walls. They'll hear that, Louisa shouted. She was all ready to crawl under the half-open gate. Let's go. We needed something to even the odds, but outrunning the armed guards on ice seemed impossible. No. But outrunning armed guards on ice seemed impossible. I cast about for options, saw none. Over here, Louisa called out. She had thrown back a tarpaulin to reveal a group of rust bucket machines on treads lined up in a corner. Louisa caught my blank expression. Snowmobiles, she exclaimed. My uncle repairs them in his shop. Quick. Do they still even work? Do you know how to drive one? How fast is a snowmobile? Do you know how to drive one? You've acquired Wolf's pistol again. Yes. She jumped into the front seat. Get on. I grabbed her waist as she started the engine, and we lurched forward onto the ice. I felt her hand reach backwards into my coat pocket. She had given me the Mauser. You keep that. We roared away from the bunker at a decent 8 miles an hour. Slow, but fast enough to get us far away. Because there'd been nothing to stop us setting a dynamite fuse after we had gotten the gate open. Oh, I still have to click on the... Whoa! Oh, there was nothing to stop them setting off an explosion after the gate had opened. That's what that meant. Aletsch Glacier. Look at us go! Yoom. The sun was high in the sky. It seemed down through the it seared down through ice-clear air, turning the glacier into a blinding lake of light. And we were chuffing along on a machine made out of biscuit tins and rubber piping. For a while we wove a path avoiding shrapnel and rock shards from the explosion. I clung onto Louisa and enjoyed the ride. She was steering intently to avoid shrapnel from the explosion. One strike would have been enough to finish us. The snowmobile would have flipped through the air like a roller coaster car, but then we were through, out onto the open ice. My eyes were on the mountains ahead, looking for paths and passes. Having fun, I shouted. How much further? I shouted, thinking of Louisa's terrific memory for maps. Half an hour. The valley turns a corner and then the glacier ends. Then I felt Louisa stiffen. There's someone coming after us. She must have seen them in the mirror attached to the snow shield. I twisted in my seat to look. On a snowmobile? I asked. If they were driving, they'd be no faster than us. Skis. Yum. We were running out of glacier. Louisa swerved to a halt on the southern edge of the valley. We clambered, bandy-legged from the machine. A mountain towered above us. That's the Egeshorn, Louisa said. There's a cable car stop just behind the peak. They installed the lines last year, apparently. We can ride it down into the valley on the other side. I didn't need to ask how she knew. Honestly, Aubrey, that girl. I was beginning to wonder if she wasn't the best partner in the field an agent could have. I cast a look back at the swooping dark figure behind. It was closing on us fast. Map. We made for the cable car stop. Yeah. Atop the Egeshorn. The climb up the Egeshorn was much harder than I had anticipated. Perhaps it was our general fatigue. I was still recovering from my crash. Louisa was exhausted from 2 days of stress and panic, and neither of us were dressed for the cold or for the climb. But our fear of the approaching figure on the glacier kept us going. It was growing larger. It would not slow or stop. If we rested, it would be sure to overwhelm us. An explosion behind us made me turn. In the valley below, our snowmobile had gone up in a pillar of smoke and fire. She's sending us a message. No turning back now. Let's just keep going. She's trying to scare us. I said nothing. The peak was all that mattered. Let's just keep going. She's trying to scare us. Then she needn't have bothered. I'm already scared, Louisa said. I could see that Wolf was struggling, but she was determined. Maybe she was thinking the same about us. The slope was turning to loose rock and shale. We had to scramble our way up, almost on all our fours. Some people do this for fun. Can you believe? I know, mad Englishmen like you, on holiday. Up and up, Aubrey. Up and up. Egeshorn Station. I want to know how much longer is left on this. What do I click? What do I click? Oh, the cable car over here. On the left. The peak of the Egeshorn was almost a needlepoint. The cable car station was built a little way down its southern slope. The Fraulein's pace hadn't slowed. I pushed Louisa down the slope and slid after her. That's the worst of it over. The Fraulein's pace hadn't slowed. I looked down at her from the top of the mountain. She was already halfway up. We scrambled quickly down the shale and scree, then fell through some bushes and emerged beside the station. A cable car was just leaving the station turnabout on its way down. There was no time for hesitation. Louisa leapt inside, landing on all fours. I caught hold of the rails either side of the door just as the car lifted away from the platform. Then I pulled myself up and slammed the door behind me, heaving a sigh of relief. Louisa was still gasping on the floor of the car. We made it, she said between breaths. I can't believe we made it. Do you think she saw us? Maybe not, but she'll know we're here. There's nowhere else we could have gone. I don't know, but let's keep our heads down anyway. Louisa clambered onto the bench at the back of the car and peered out of the glass. I don't see her, but she can't be far. There's no way to speed it up. If we get stuck up here, we might have to jump. Maybe she's dropped dead from it. If we get stuck up here, we might have to jump. We'd never make it, Louisa said, shaking her head and looking down at the drop. Look, Smith, she's reached the station. The Fraulein could have had us at that moment, Aubrey. If she hadn't have been blinded by hatred, she might have realized she could have stopped the cable car's winch or thrown a switch to reverse its direction. The sort of thing Louisa would have thought of with her engineering mind. But the Fraulein didn't do either of those things. Instead, she got into the car behind us. Louisa began to laugh. What's so funny? I couldn't help laughing too. She needed the release after what she'd been through. I couldn't help laughing too. I tried to imagine a chase scene like this one in a moving picture and failed. It put the audience to sleep. I had a nice vision of taking this girl to the cinema, Aubrey, and staying very awake. Aww. Our car was 3 minutes in front of the Fraulein's. Both were 40 feet up in the air. There was nothing to do but wait. We swung, slow and stately. 15 minutes later... Hold on. Okay. We reached the Eggishorn interchange station and jumped from the car. We raced to the second station in the next car. Then we set about sabotaging. Ooh, should we sabotage? No, I think we should just keep going. We were still in the lead. Maybe we could put some distance between us at Feisch. Still the cable cars. Oh, this thing. Ooh, music's picking up. The second cable car gently swayed us down the mountainside. It was like being in a floating cradle. This section of the line only had one car, doing the full round trip, so the slower it went, the better. We sat in silence for a time. How are you holding up? I asked. She looked like she was limping. How are you holding up? Louisa shrugged. Well enough, I suppose. I haven't stopped to find out. We sat in silence for a time. I'm so happy I got to drive a snowmobile, Louisa enthused. My uncle will be so happy when I tell him. He taught me, you see. Suddenly, Louisa yelped and pressed her face to the glass. What is that? I looked down. Splashes of color, a chessboard in rainbow hues, blues, reds, greens, and whites. It was as though someone had spread out a woolen quilt over the valley floor. That wasn't on the map you saw. I joined her at the window, peering to make out the details. But we were still too high up. Whatever the shapes were, there were people milling around them, working by the look of them. I'll leave it here now, Aubrey, to give you a chance to solve this puzzle. Can you guess the delightful surprise that was waiting for us at the bottom of the cable line? What do you think? I think it's hot air balloons. Oh my gosh! That was completely a guess. Oh, hold on. Oh, okay. Let's let the stream catch up. Okay. Let's go! Balloons. Hot air balloons, to be precise. We had somehow stumbled into the middle of the Feisch Festival of Hot Air Balloonery. There wasn't a moment to lose. How do you feel about heights? This seems rather too good an opportunity to waste, don't you think? Let's go, Louisa cried. We raced down the track from the cable car station, then hopped a fence into a field where the first of the balloons was laid out. The burner was on and the balloon was starting to fill. We approached its owner. He was sitting on the grass beside the basket, smoking a pipe. He looks like a walrus. There's no time for discussion with the man. I pulled out the gun. Quickly, man. We're escaping from Nazis. Oh, I didn't mean to click on it. Nazis! The man jumped to his feet. I despise Nazis. He was a good salt, Herr Gaspar. He helped us both into the basket of his balloon without further ado. I glanced back up at the mountainside. The empty cable car was almost back up the slope now. It would soon collect the Fraulein and bring her down to join us. She would have no qualms about putting a bullet in our heads, or one in our balloon, and the balloon was still inflating. Any faster? Fraulein Wolf is in the cable car. I took a moment to shake the balloonist's hand. Sure. My name is Smith. This is Louisa. I'm very pleased to meet you both. He gave a stiff little bow. I am Herr Gaspar, and this is my most wondrous balloon. I call her Gertie. I do hope you're not afraid of heights. A hot air balloon, Aubrey, is a magical thing. The ground below just gives up on you. Gravity lets go and Earth drifts away. First an inch, then a yard, then up and up. An indulgent form of transport. A folly of follies. The first fellow who tried this must have been brave. The cable car had reached the ground. I saw a limping figure emerge. Bless the Fraulein. She shook her little fist up at us as we left her behind. We're free, Louisa cried out at the sky. We're free. I put my arm around her waist to steady her, Aubrey, in case she leaned too far over the edge of the basket. She even leant back a little against me, just for safety, you understand. We are really free of her now, she breathed, still gazing out of the view. Free. Look at us go! Over the Alps. Oh hey! Roll credits. That's the name of the game. Blue-green with white peaks, the Alps spread like a frozen sea below us. The Aletsch Glacier was a long stripe, dotted with detritus from the bunker explosion. Louisa pointed at the observatory, winking like a jewel, then the long curved valley of Ambry, perhaps even that little chapel above Arolo, the sort of place a chap might get married. I hope Papa is alright. Did you see what happened in Goshenen? He'll be in Zurich already, I'm sure. Try not to worry. Not much use up here, I suppose, she agreed. The world looks so very small from up here, doesn't it? It's a pity we have to fight over it. We drifted on, soaring ever higher. I love the art style of this. Look at those mountains. You've checked she's not hanging on to the ballast ropes? I've checked. Time passes. I wouldn't put it past her. I wouldn't either. She's not there. I'm going to check myself. Continue. Our Gaspar leaned out over the side and spat. He watched the spittle fall, then nodded. Good northeast current. I will take us down. We drifted lower into a current of air that grasped us and whisked us forward, so quickly that Gaspar's mustaches began to waffle in the wind. You're studying engineering? Your father seems devoted to you. Nah, we'll just let time pass. The winds carried us on. The sun was touching the mountains to the west, spreading honey across snow-capped peaks. The view is beautiful, Louisa enthused. It's as good as in a painting. Rather better, I should think. You should take a photograph of it. I'm rather more focused on keeping us safe. Now let's go. Rather better, I should think. Then something occurred to me. Have you ever seen mountains before? In real life, I mean. She shook her head. I've never been outside of Milan before, although we have many galleries. I let her point out the details to me as we went. A snowy peak here, a distant waterfall there, that sort of thing. I saw it all for the first time again, through her eyes. We floated onwards. And then, Aubrey, the mountains were quite suddenly gone. We were flying over farmland and low country. I will be sending us by the Zurich Sea, Gaspar said. There's a place I know beside the water. A lake? I like lakes, Louisa said. The balloon settled to the earth on a patch of empty land within spitting distance of the water's edge. It was a low, rocky outcrop jutting out into the lake. A cozy log cabin was built above it on stilts that rose from the reeds. This is my aunt's guest house, Gaspar said. He should stay here. She makes excellent fondue. I thanked him. I simply nodded. Of course, I thanked him. Louisa kissed him on both cheeks, out of gratitude, but also from sheer relief. Your balloon is beautiful, she gushed, and the man glowed with pride. Then we scrambled out of the basket, all but fell onto the grass. The ground feels very strange, Louisa exclaimed. Once you've been a bird, Gaspar observed, pulling out his pipe to light it, why would you be anything else? Poetic? Poppycock. Perhaps if we were birds, we would see nations for the fictions they really are. Birds get shot down. Oh gosh, no. From the sky, we'd see only rivers and mountains, not borders and checkpoints. Perhaps one day people will routinely fly about in balloons and aeroplanes, and the divisions between peoples will become a distant memory. I went to find Gaspar's aunt to talk to her about a room. Ooh, aw, Oh, peninsula. Oh, peninsula. This is beautiful. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Shooting star. There's a little jetty in front of the cabin. We were sitting together, looking out over the lake. Stars filled the sky and flooded the surface of the water. Louisa had her arms hugged around her knees. She told me she would kill me. I said nothing. I said nothing. She was talking just fine. I said nothing, just sat by her side. She kept trying to scare me. There were things she said she would do to me. She spoke quietly. But what could I tell her? She wouldn't have understood what made the transmitter special anyway. She shivered. I tried to tell her that she had it wrong, that it was all a mistake, but she just kept threatening me and asking me the same questions over and over, like a machine. That's the way they're told to do it. It's alright, you're free now. It was nothing personal. It's alright, you're free now. Am I, though? She didn't seem as though she would ever give up. Her words drifted across the lake and disappeared. I'm cold, Smith. Come here, I'll keep you warm. We should go inside. Take the blanket, I'll go inside. We should go inside. Come here, I'll keep you warm. Yeah! She turned to glare at me with hot, angry eyes. Tell me something, Smith. Would you say you are a good man? A man of honor? A man of honor? Yeah, I would say so. Human warmth. I got an achievement. Then you may hold me. So I held her, and she cried, and when she had finished crying, we just sat there and looked up at the stars. Thank you, she whispered. War tipped to be over by Christmas. As British warplanes bombed German naval targets, some experts predict a swift end to German aggression on the continent. It is expected that the continent on the scale of the years-long Great War of 1914 may be avoided through decisive and rapid military action. September 4th, 1939. Ooh, coche. Gaspar's Aunt Helga had a car that had once belonged to her husband. She was happy for us to use it. Helga clasped our hands in turn as we left. Newlyweds, she sniffed, her eyes moist. In such dark and difficult days. She waved a handkerchief as we drove away. It was early morning, still dark. Louisa twisted in her seat to wave back until we were out of sight. I think we fooled her, she concluded. Yes, we were very convincing, I smiled back. To Zurich! The road followed the lake shore into the city. This is the road to Zurich, Louisa remarked. It's only a couple of miles. You're sure this is where you want to go? Have you ever been? It's a rather dour place, I think. You are extremely honorable. You don't need to tell me that, she grinned. There was a map in the cabin. Aubrey, I shall miss this curious girl and her marvelous mind. Aw, that was sweet. Zurich. I found myself driving slowly. Perhaps I was finally able to enjoy the sights the journey had to offer. I wanted to spend every last second Louisa that I could. Perhaps I was still on the lookout for a possible attack. I was not relishing adjusting down from control, amongst other things. I wanted to spend every last second with Louisa that I could. Our work offers us plenty of excitement, plenty of comfort and discomfort, but so little of the wonder and awe that just a few moments of Louisa's company gave me. You must think me a stripling to talk like this, but I am no ancient oak. But Louisa's journey was at an end. She was eager to reach Zurich and could talk of little but seeing her father. I hope he's not too sore. He'll have been well enough to take the train to Zurich, won't he? I hope so. Oh yes, they have good doctors in Switzerland. We'll know soon enough. That fact was, we were already there. We were passing through the suburbs of Zurich, built up along the lakefront. The scent of flowers and horse dung was fading away into the fumes of cars and coffee. From the Alps we had emerged back into what some call civilization, but I don't know what I'd call it anymore. Europe is at war. Oh, I need to click on the one with all the birds. We checked into the Hotel St. Augustine under the name of Mr. and Mrs. Elling. I liked the feeling of signing it, Aubrey. Just married, I enthused the concierge. We are eloping, I murmured, so please don't tell anyone we're here. "Say no more, sir," he replied. "You may count upon our discretion." The porter showed us to our room. I gave him a franc, and he backed out with a smile. Louisa was already inspecting the contents of the room, from the embroidered lampshades by the bed to the hotel stationery on the desk in the corner. I've never been in a real hotel like this before. No, I can't imagine that she had. A restaurateur's daughter. Summer had ended somewhere in the mountains, and the September air blowing in from the lake was cold. After inspecting the curtains, Louisa pushed the window shut. "So what do we do now?" "I'll ask around to see if your father has arrived. I'm going out, but you mustn't leave this room. Stay put for now, until I've scouted the area." Openly walking around the streets of Zurich would be too risky for her. "All right then," she sighed, "but perhaps we might go out for a drink. Later, I mean." "A drink? I'd like that. We do better have some. I'll be with your father once I've located him." She smiled. "Then I hope you find him soon." I put my hat on. "I'll be back within the hour, I should think." I paused a moment to look at her through the open door as I left the room. My Mrs. Elling, sprawled on the bed, shoes dangling from her toes, low sunlight streaming in around her. A moment of perfect beauty. The same feeling as I'd had in the hot balloon. The ground falling away, my heart lifting towards soft clouds. Oh my gosh, he's in love! Okay, I think I'm gonna have to leave it here, because I have somewhere to be today. So we're going to save and quit. And I will just switch us over to here. Oh goodness, 2.5 hours. Except for a couple of like technical difficulties. Um, yeah, so that was over the Alps. We'll be finishing this mission next stream and then going on to the next mission, hopefully. But yeah, thank you guys for coming. I hope you had a good time. I gotta head out though, so I will leave you guys with this cool music, and I will catch you guys in the next stream.